Hello, folks. Welcome to everyone. This is Georgie. Thanks for the introduction. Today, we are talking about Amazon Pinpoint. What is Amazon Pinpoint? As a developer, and we develop great applications. We build the best application, and there's research out there that says customers invest more than $10 per user to acquire a new user. The secondary data point there is nearly 75% of those users actually don't return to the app after the first 3 days of the application. So you're paying a lot of money to acquire users. You are not getting them retained and engaged in the application. And how can you improve that? Market research indicates that engagement improves 70% if the messaging that is sent to those customers is targeted. That's where Pinpoint comes in. If you think about Amazon Pinpoint, we think about Pinpoint as having three levels and enabling you to understand users using the analytics that you're driving through your applications. These analytics could help you understand user behavior, could help you understand messaging effectiveness, and help you tweak that behavior. Once you have understood that user, then the next piece is defining the right target audience for the right message. Who do I send the messages to? That is the target audience piece. So can I segment based on attributes? Can I bring in segment information from my systems of record that are not on Pinpoint? Do I have that flexibility? And once I have that, what is the right message to send at what time? That's where message and engage comes in terms of, do I send them an email message? Do I send them a push notification message? Do I send them an SMS message? What type of message it works best and on the push channel, email channel, or SMS channel, etc. And how can I personalize that message using templating on the message as well as stored templates that can help me automate a lot of the processes. So if you think about Pinpoint overall, the key message is, what I want to leave is, as you're developing applications, think about that engagement story. Think about how will you understand user behavior and how will you engage the users to make sure that you can get the users coming back to your application again and again once you have actually gotten them to use it for the first time. We talked about the three levels. How do those three levels come together? At Amazon, we like to talk about the Amazon flywheel. And the intent here is, a flywheel is self-sufficient and all the components come together in an integrated manner. So think about this. You have your analytics where you can capture events and measure engagement. So how do you capture events? You do capture events based on your mobile SDKs that AWS provides. You have server-side support via API to bring in events. You also have channel analytics to measure effectiveness of each of the channels. So what was my opens and clicks on my emails? What was my delivery rate on SMS and response rates on that? What was my deliveries, opens, responses on mobile push? Once you have gotten that information, you can actually then drive further segmentation based on that information using attributes, segmentation. Both attributes could be custom, standard, or you could also have an S3 import where you can bring in segmentation information from external sources. That segmentation is then driven to your messaging and engaging platform where you can actually create messages, craft messages using for email, push, or SMS channel. And then you can actually optimize the message using A/B testing, holdout testing. You could test based on the schedule of the message. You can test based on the message body and type. Also, you could have control groups if you want to think about the impact on downstream analytics. How do these pieces work together? Let's go into some more details, right? When you think about capture analytics, think about this scenario where you have multiple sources of analytics. You have the mobile SDK. You have mobile, your application as an analytics source. where using the mobile SDK, you can capture mobile app events. You can define you get a set of out of the box events, and you get 1,500 custom events that you can personalize and customize. Next, you think about your channels like email and SMS. On email, we provide you with deliverability metrics, opens, clicks. On SMS, you get delivery reports on how each of those SMS messages are performing. And then you have a lot of other systems where you could have your web analytics, you could have your enterprise ERP systems, you could have your CRM systems, where you can actually bring in data into Pinpoint so that you can consolidate and understand trends between these data using your server-side APIs, where you can actually say a customer has now defined a API call that ingests events using those API calls. This data, once it's enabled, can then be pushed downstream to Kinesis for further integration with the AWS data ecosystem. So we're using Kinesis, you can push data to S3, Redshift, Elasticache via Kinesis Firehose, or just use Kinesis for doing further analytics on the stream data. Now, moving on, once you've captured analytics, what are the out-of-the-box user behavior and engagement metrics that we provide as Pinpoint? So if we think about by time, we can think about it as events, usage, demographics, and campaigns, which is your engagement metrics on what are the by time filters on each of those events. What are the usage attributes? Like what are your daily active users? What is your session analytics, locales of the users, time of open, etc. And then you have demographics. Demographics could be standard demographics, like what is the device, make, model, app version of the users, what versions are they on. Or it could also be custom attributes, like what are their purchase preferences? What is the closest, most frequent airport of destination airport for them? What could be the most favorite? What are their favorite categories of purchase? What is the favorite news topic, etc. Last piece is campaign analytics, where you get what channels, how each of the channels are performing, how many active users you have based on each channel, what was the schedule of each of the campaigns, how many users were messaged, how many messages were delivered, what is the opt-out rates for each of the channels, what is the open rate, what is the, on mobile push, we also provide attributed opens. So if you've sent a push notification to a customer, what is the attributed opens that those push notifications resulted in? So you've captured events, you now have a rich out-of-the-box sets of analytics and dashboard tools. What do you do next? You now come to the segment and target place, where you use Pinpoint to drive segmentation, to define target audiences. You can do that via using Pinpoint based on the analytics that you've sent, saying, I have a bunch of custom events that I'm generating, I map them to attributes, and then use filters to define segments based on how users' attributes are changing or what attributes users have. So for a game developer use case, you could have, what is my game, the game level I'm on? For a news application, you could have, what is my favorite news topic? For a sports app, you could have, what are my favorite sports teams? And you could define filters based on that. You could also define filters based on usage. Find me all customers who have used the app in the last 7 days, who have not used an application. You could map channel analytics to filters, saying all customers who have read my last email, all customers who interacted with the SMS based on a downstream action that they generated, etc. Or the second part of it is, if you have your own systems of record where you manage segmentation, you can also seamlessly bring that information into Pinpoint using CSV imports or JSON segment imports, where you, as a marketer, will just upload your file into S3, or as a developer, uploads a file into S3 and links that file into Pinpoint saying, this is where my segment sits. Once you have identified the segment, next comes the defining of the message, the right message to the right people at the right time. So to enable that, Pinpoint A provides you what channel do you want to message the customer on. So if you walk through the journey, the first part of the right message is what is the right channel. Once you have the right channel, the next piece is what is the right message. So do I have the right capabilities to personalize my message? And here, Pinpoint provides you capabilities with message templates. Pinpoint provides you on the email side with rich editor functionality on crafting the right message, as well as handlebar templating to define personalized messages, where the templating or the substitution is driven based on attributes that are mapped to each user's endpoint. And think about endpoint as the destination identifier for each user. So just like I had my preferences, you could also have an attribute that's mapped to me, which is attribute.lastname, which for me would be Matthews. You could also have a attribute that is attribute.firstname, which would be Georgie. And in your email, you could say, hi, attribute.lastname space attribute.firstname, and the email will be sent as, hi, Matthews Georgie. Next, once you have defined the personalized messages, next piece is defining the right schedule, the right time for sending those messages. So with Pinpoint, you can send immediate messages, immediate campaigns. You can also send scheduled recurring campaigns based on at a future time. So this helps you define the right message that is personalized and customized by channel for each user. So where does that lead us? If you think about one of the fundamental problems today, and I'll talk to more detail in the next slide, is we are over communicating with our customers, our end users. And a lot of the times the question is, how can we make it more cohesive? How can we make it more consistent so that we know that we are reaching to them uniquely on each channel and not overreaching to them multiple times across multiple channels. With Pinpoint, we provide you with that middle layer, talking to your applications, be it client-side applications, be it server-side applications, and also connecting via Pinpoint to the end user so that we can have that consistent story in terms of how many total messages have I sent to the user, how is the user interacting on the mobile channel to an email channel to an SMS channel. And from a business user standpoint, the question would be, is it more beneficial for me to use SMS as a channel versus using mobile push, because more customers are interacting for my order confirmation messages on SMS? Is it beneficial for me to send an order confirmation on email, or should I not, etc.? And it also helps you create messaging platforms with redundancies across channels, where you could first start off with creating an SMS message, then trigger an email message based on actions taken by the customers. If not, you could also send them a push notification, etc. Now, contrast that with what is the story today. If you think about the story today, you have each of these distinct systems of record that communicate with customers. But what that leads to is an over communication or over messaging. And also beyond the over messaging is a lack of a clear, tangible way to understand how that messaging is impacting the user. Because drawing feedback back on across all these communication touch points is extremely difficult. And having a consistent viewpoint across those communication touch points becomes extremely difficult. Now, so that's how we think about the world. What are the capabilities that we are offering? For customers, we believe there are two use cases. One is the targeted messaging use case. The other is a direct messaging use case. And a good example for targeted messaging use case is for the sports app could be all users who like a particular team. Versus a direct messaging use case could be a transactional messaging use case saying, Georgie Matthews, your order has been shipped. Or it could be, hey, there is a transaction alert on your banking on your bank account. So we support both of that, where you could just use the API layer to send transactional messages, or you could use our API layers as well as the console to send targeted campaign messages. So now it enables you the flexibility to use one service across use cases. Next is capability to schedule and campaigns as one-time as well as recurring. Manage that and understand impact of those messaging interactions and overall app usage using campaign and app analytics. Enhance and improve that using A/B testing and holdout testing. Have end user safeguards in terms of quiet time, message caps at the campaign level on a per day basis. Now you've had all those controls, then you can actually create beautiful campaigns or messages using templating functionality. You could also look at templating to automate your messaging. So you could have pre-stored templates for certain types of messages. A welcome email, order confirmation email with substitution going for the item that was ordered, a banking transactional email. You could also have a rich media notifications on the mobile push side. We do support rich media notifications, data notifications, and sign-in notifications. Once you have that, how do you personalize these segmentation? How do you personalize the analytics that's coming? You do that using custom events on the analytics side, where Pinpoint provides you with an open platform for you to personalize any of your business use case to the analytics that you're capturing. And then custom attributes enables you to personalize your segmentation logic based on your use case. Now you've done all that, you've run campaigns, you've captured events. With Kinesis and Kinesis Firehose, you can actually publish those events downstream for further data analysis, for custom analysis on the data, which could further be pushed back into the system as imports if that influences your segmentation. We support segment and funnel analytics. And the last is we've just launched a capability for user-based segmentation. Why is this important? If you think about retail systems, if you think about certain systems, you don't identify the user by their destination or by the channel they are using. You identify the user by a user ID, which could be what's the customer ID that you're mapped to, or the player ID that you're mapped to. What user-based segmentation allows you is, if you enriched within an endpoint attribute, adding custom attributes within the user ID, you can now segment at the user ID level, saying, find me all destinations mapped to these users who like a certain, who have exhibited a certain behavior or have a certain custom attribute in common. And at that point, Pinpoint will pull in all their mobile endpoints, all their SMS endpoints, and all their email endpoints, and you can then create campaigns around that. We think about ourselves as with AWS. We've talked about the features. We support a full developer integration on Pinpoint, offering APIs, SDKs, and CLI support. And think about Pinpoint as enabling your marketing automation, enabling you to run through an end-to-end engagement use case without having to go through a console and be able to automate it. We enable you to instrument your app, instrument your attributes with custom attributes and custom events, as well as enable endpoint and segment import use cases, which enable you to start using Pinpoint without actually having to integrate completely with an SDK, and you could start running tests immediately using the import use case. The next persona that we've talked about is the marketer. For the marketer, what we've identified is like, hey, can we offer a rich console experience where once the developer persona has gone instrumented with Pinpoint, can we offer a repeat usage platform where a repeated marketer can come in as a repeat user to use some of the features in the console? So we have parity within console and APIs. We offer multi-channel messaging within the console itself. And then you can use all the leverage dynamic segmentation where you can create segment filters within the console as well as do your A/B testing and holdout testing and define all of those campaign parameters using the console. How do we think about pricing? So if you think about our pricing levels, we think about pricing as based on flexibility. We believe that customers' use cases will evolve. Customers' use cases will evolve based on what channel is most relevant to them, what type of messaging is most relevant to them, and what features they want to use with Pinpoint. So we think about Pinpoint as having basically just the pricing translates to the three levels we started off the deck with. On the analytics side, you're charged based on number of events that Pinpoint receives. So you're charged at $1 per million events received. On the targeting and segmentation side, you're charged based on number of users you're uniquely targeting in a month. What that means is you could send me, Georgie, an email, 10 push messages, and 5 SMSs in the month of July. I will still be counted as one targeted user. And that is priced at $1.20 per 1,000 targeted users. And then on the top line, you have the three levels for messaging right now. So currently we support email, push, and SMS. Push is priced at $1 per million push messages. Email is priced at $1 per 10,000 email messages. And SMS is priced at based on the country that you're sending the messages on. And we support over 200 plus countries across the globe for our SMS program. And at the bottom, you can see the free tier that we support. We support 1 million push messages, 100 million events, and 5,000 MTA per month under our free tier. How does it help? From a lot of the customer use cases, what has been evident as feedback has been the inability to scale quickly, inability to personalize to a business use case, and inability to integrate with external systems. So if you think about the fan out engine that we have, we can fan out messages or push messages. We can send 1 million push messages in under a minute to APNS GCN. We can support up to 1,500 custom events and up to 40 custom attributes. And we can import 1 million profiles if you're importing a segment in under 4 minutes. And that enables you the flexibility to continue evolving. You can start building campaigns that are almost real time, where you can identify the users, send a message in a matter of minutes. Let's talk about some customer examples. Through the presentation, I've talked through some of these examples. I'll hinted on some of these. You have the news aggregator story where you want to send them news digests or flash news based on their interests. So the end user's interest, so using any of these channels or a mix of these channels across push, email, and SMS. On the retail side, you have the flash sale and deal alerts using push notifications. You could also send these as as menu of the day alerts. A good example here is SMS we see a trend of SMS being used more and more for those menu of the day or deal of the day alerts that customers get in the morning. On the sports apps, you have sports score updates, stadium alerts, which could be linked to your geolocation using mobile push and SMS. You have order confirmation. Back to the retail example, you could have order confirmation, shipping confirmation, send via the direct messaging or the transactional messaging that Pinpoint supports. You have in-app usage hints. How do you continue keeping your users engaged if you're a game developer or if you were wanting to provide them in-app usage hints? You could send them that information as a data notification and then handle that in your app. For restaurants that we've talked to, there's cross-sell and upsell opportunities which are more real-time based on identifying whether the customer is close to a restaurant location. So you could have SMS, mobile push, in some cases email. You have two-factor authentication messages sent using SMS. So you could enable that, and you could also have followers. Like if you send via SMS, you could also have something send a program that for users who have not responded to an SMS, send them an email reminder for that authentication, etc. Let's walk through a customer example next. If you look at, this is a mobile example where a customer instrumented a mobile application using the Pinpoint SDK, started sending the application analytics into Pinpoint. This was an SDK example, but you could instrument this as server-side integration using APIs. That is displayed on the Pinpoint dashboards. Once you've displayed them in the dashboards, you have a backend that this is again the server-side story of bringing in segments and endpoints or enriching endpoints via the APIs, where you could have a backend logic that understands your business use case and then enriches using Lambda and API Gateway each of those endpoints or imports a set of segments. Once you have done that, you get all of that segmentation information in Pinpoint. You then can actually define the right message to be sent to the user using the Pinpoint messaging console and or the APIs. Okay, getting started. To get started with Pinpoint, you can, in the console, you can go create an project or an application in Mobile Hub under messaging and analytics, and then that will send you to Pinpoint. Or we just launched the messaging app CRUD APIs, which are being published into documentation right now. So you can have a complete server-side integration for even app CRUD. Last piece is, this is available currently in IAD, and we have plans to expand this regional availability for this through this year and next year. This is something that we have in our charter. And the last is, I want to run through a quick demo of the product with you guys. Let me first walk you through a project creation window. If you wanted to create a sample project using Pinpoint, you're going to create project. This initiates a create project workflow where you can say, and then you can create a project. You can just say messaging. In this case, let's enable email. You can say enable. You can say I want to also enable SMS. And for mobile push, you can provide your Android or iOS credentials here. If you want to enable app analytics for your application, you can enable analytics right here. Now, if I were to go, this then allows you to, it's set up. You can just go to Pinpoint by clicking on engage here. This will direct you to Pinpoint. This will then see the Pinpoint demo app is already created. For enabling the channel, you can go to a channels page. You can see any email was enabled. You can now provide a email address. Let's see this, Amazon.com. This is already verified because I have multiple email IDs. I have multiple accounts that have verified this email. So this is already verified. I can hit save. If it's not verified, what it'll do is it'll start a verification workflow where it'll send an email to the address that you're verifying and go from there. On the SMS, I see that my account's already been configured. My account is configured with for default promote transactional messages. I can set a default sender ID here. I can also raise a request right here to raise my daily spend limit. And these requests are then reviewed by us, and then you're put into you're given an increased spending limit. There's also a use case where, as a customer, you could have raised a request and then have a really high spending limit, say $10,000, but you want this account to have only $100 of spending limit. So you can control that here, so that you can manage your budgets in terms of SMS usage. You also see here your account status. My account currently is in sandbox state for email, and this is the spending limit I have currently for SMS. Sandbox in email means that I can only send email messages to my verified email ID or the verified or email addresses in the verified email domain. Once I'm to get out of the sandbox, I have to submit a request to the email system, Pinpoint email system. You submit your request to be promoted to production. You're promoted to production, and then you can start sending emails to any customers you want. So I already have a project that I want to work with you guys on. So I created this project, and this project is primarily an email and SMS use case project. Here I have a First, I want to talk you through the direct SMS use case. Because I have SMS enabled here, I can just go to Pinpoint SMS tab here, hit +1 281 224 8340, which is my phone number. You can select that I am sending a transactional message. Let's say message, and I can hit send. So now the SMS message has been successfully sent, and I just received the SMS message that's saying, hello, this is a test message. I can do the same thing for email. If I want to now send to an email address that's my email address, because it's verified, I can set my email address right here. And I can preview the message, or I can just hit send. This directly will end up sending the message to the customer. Now, this was the direct messaging use case. In this use case, you can actually bring in just directly your email address. In the mobile push case, just your GCM token, APNS token, or in the SMS use case, just your number. And you don't have to have the overhead of having to go through issues in terms of having to define endpoints or having to define specific Pinpoint endpoints and manage that. You can directly just define what is the destination address you want to send a message to, and you can start messaging users. On the campaigns side, now let's go to the targeting side. As I talked about the segment piece, you have options where you can actually now create a segment based on use cases like what is the channel you want to segment. You can filter users based on the app version if you're on the mobile side. You can also import a segment. For this use case, let's see you're starting out new and you wanted to import a segment. I have a role here. I can just enter this role, and I can go to the S3 location that I have this file saved in, and I can give you my external ID and I can import the segment. This import is, give me one sec. So there's some issue with my segment file. I'll fix that. Once you have imported a segment, you see this as an imported active segment here. Actually, and once you have that segment right here, you can actually also you see an SMS segment here. You can directly create a campaign running with this, where you can say, I want to create a standard campaign. I want to hit next step. And at this point, I see that it has two users here. And then I can say this is a promotional message. I can flip it to transactional, or I can then say I can now come to the scheduling side of it, where I can say, what is my schedule? Is this an immediate campaign? Is this a once campaign or an hourly campaign? Let's say this is an immediate. I can hit next step. I can then launch the campaign. This will queue up my campaign for delivery. Once I have done this, I can go back to analytics. I can go to campaigns, and I can see all the campaigns that are running and that I have scheduled. And momentarily this should show up with. So we see the SMS demo campaign here, and this, as the messages users get delivered, and based on the response from the carriers, we will get this updated with the metrics. Okay. Now I also want to talk you through the use case on the mobile application side. So as a customer, if you went into a mobile app, you want to now manage mobile push and have so this is a demo app that we have running for mobile apps. So you can now see what's your daily active users, how many monthly active users you have, what are the number of campaigns, what are the number of deliveries on the campaigns, what are the active campaigns. You could have also how many total targetable users you have overall and by each channel. You could go into campaigns. You can see open rates for each campaign, opt-out rate, number of delivered and active users. You can go into demographics. See, this gives you a breakdown on what are the standard attributes that you have, and what is the distribution of those attributes, as well as what are the custom attributes. So for this particular app, we instrumented saying what are the AWS topics that you're interested in, and this app enables you to quickly look into, hey, these are all the AWS topics that you have. So you can see how many customers have selected that they have interests in compute in mobile. How many have selected that they have an interest in compute, and this enables you to build a demographic map of your users. Then you have events, so you can instrument your app with custom events. So as you go through a bunch of events, you instrument different events in your app. All these custom events show up right here. So you can say how many customers opened each of the news alerts they're getting in a browser. And this could be currently in the last window. No customers have opened this. You can create funnels. So you could have funnels based on a campaign map to a particular campaign. You could also see usage based on now this is where application usage comes in, as to what are the daily active users, what are your monthly active users, how many purchases do you have, what are the session counts, how many countries the users are in, and what is the time of day that the users are interacting with their app. And if you have a revenue use case, you can also track revenue here in the revenue section. Once you have a segment created, you can actually run through a segment. You can now create a new segment here saying, let's create a mobile compute US segment here. You can see now has used the app in the last 6 days. Let's say the country is US. It now filters down how many active users match this criteria. Then it says, let's say compute and say mobile, how many users have both these interests. And then you can say, I want to create a segment. This creates the segment for you. Now from this segment, I want to create a campaign. So it's pre-selected. Next step. Now at this point, I can define, I'm just using a previously defined campaign. I can define a holdout as let's say I want to reach out to 25% holdout. So one of the users will not get a message. And then I can go to the next step. I can go, this is a standard notification or a silent notification, where as a silent notification, I'm just giving a data payload. As a standard notification, I can say, what is my title? What is my message? And then you can define the app action. So in the mobile use case, you can actually say, what are the actions that are relevant to you? Do you want to do an open app, go to URL, or open a deep link? You can also provide rich media options here, which is, what are your media URLs? Do you want to specify an iOS media URL for rendering, image URL for rendering as part of the message? Same with Android image as well as Android icons. Let's just call it as open app. You hit next step. You're again taken to the scheduler window, where in this use case, let me talk about the local time feature here. If you have if you want to start a campaign that starts off in Eastern time, let's say EDT, Eastern Daylight Time, and then you want to go through the world, go through the globe based on where the locale of the user, but hit them every day at, say, once at 8 a.m. So what this does is, by selecting local time, it's actually going to check what is the locale of the user and send them at 8 a.m. for that locale. And then it's going to go straight into, if you deselect this, this will do a blast at 8 a.m. Eastern time for all users across the globe. At this time, when you're doing all users across the globe, you can quickly say what is a quiet time, if there's a quiet time where you should not reach a user, as well as if there's an end for that quiet time. Let's just select immediate, next step, and here you can then launch a campaign. So this campaign is now scheduled for launch and will be run through, and then you see your parameters here. Once you refresh, if you refresh, you then have a link to campaign analytics where you can then see the campaign analytics for the user. That brings us to the summary of the demo. Why don't we jump into answering questions that the audience might have?